And lastly, kind of one of the reasons that I write, and I don't know if you guys have experienced it, you may have experienced it with writing, you may have experienced it with something else like sports or art or music, but it's kind of getting in the zone. And it's a really, really cool thing when you're writing or doing something like that you love doing, and time just kind of flies by and you create something almost bigger than yourself, and then you look back at that and think, wow, I did that. It's a very cool experience, and that's really kind of what keeps me writing, because writing is a lot of work, and it's not a super easy, simple thing to do, but being able to feel that creativity, kind of like you're connected to something bigger, is kind of what fuels me. So if you guys haven't felt that, I really hope that you guys will with something. So I want to go back to my dream in 2nd grade. And writing was that for me for a really long time. It was just this dream, like something I'll do someday. I really want to be a writer someday. But I knew I also wanted to be a librarian, so I went to college to do that. And the writing thing was just still a someday kind of thing. And then I had a friend who died of breast cancer a few years ago. And when she died, it really made me kind of think about myself and think, wow, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And if I were to die tomorrow, I want to be able to know that I've done what I want to do. I want to know that I've accomplished my own dreams. And I know that's kind of a heavy thing to tell you guys because you're young, but what I hope for you guys is that you always follow your dreams and honor that part of yourself. Don't tell yourself someday, like take some sort of a step forward toward that dream so that you're accomplishing it. And so I have a quote for you guys from Neil Gaiman to kind of wrap things up. He's an author, if you guys don't know, and a comic book guy, and just an amazing author. He says, quote, "Start telling the stories that only you can tell, because there will always be better writers than you, and there will always be smarter writers than you. There will always be people who are much better at doing this or doing that, but you are the only you." So I want you guys to just leave me when you leave today and just think about what's your story and what is your dream. And whether that includes writing or not, that's totally fine. I just want you guys to honor yourselves and remember that. Okay, so does anybody have questions or comments about dreams or what your story is or anything like that? Okay, I know you guys did come with some questions for me, so I want to give you guys time to ask me questions. Does anybody have questions for me? Yes. I am writing another book. And sorry, I feel like I shouldn't move because we're all kind of in here, but I want to show you guys. First of all, this is my little book that Mr. Becker typed up that I have in a baggie because it's fallen apart. But so that's kind of my first book that I showed you. I had a few others when I was a kid, but that's that book. And I want to show you guys, I'm going to shut this off because we're good now with that. All right, so this was kind of my notebook, and I think it would be maybe helpful for you guys to kind of see a little bit of the writing process. This is my notebook for Devil May Care, and Devil May Care doesn't have this cover because this is a copyrighted image and I couldn't use it, but while I was writing, I wanted some sort of a cover to kind of guide me. So this is the cover I came up with for my notebook, and I have, when I started writing, and I will answer your question about what I'm writing now, but when I started writing, I write longhand and I scratch out, and then kind of the second draft piece is when I'm typing it into the computer and editing. So, and then tons of note cards to kind of track what's going on in each chapter and what I want to change. So I'm a pretty messy writer, and then I have all kinds of emails and critiques from other people throughout the history of that book, and just kind of saved it all so I could remember that process. The book that I'm currently working on, and I've done a couple of picture books as well. Those are a little bit quicker. One that I have with an editor right now is called Joshua, and it's about Dracula's son, who's named Joshua. The chapter book that I'm working on is called Días de los Muertos, which means Days of the Dead. And it's kind of based on my husband's life. He's from Mexico and kind of growing up in a mostly white town, and his dad died when he was really young, so it's a very different story. Devil May Care is a paranormal, supernatural romance kind of thing, and Días de los Muertos is not that. It's more multicultural and coming of age, like growing up through hard times, but same kind of thing. I have the note cards, and I have my hard copy notebook, which with this book, I started using the computer a lot more and not doing as much longhand. But this has been a much more difficult book for me because it's so personal and it's based on things that actually happened to a certain extent. But that's what I'm working on right now. Okay, other questions?
Did you ever get writer's block with Devil May Care, and how did you get over it?
Yes, I get writer's block off and on, and not totally blocked, but just like, where do I go next? What do I do? And for me, the easiest thing to do is just kind of step away from that piece and work on something else for a little bit, because it's always there in your subconscious, and then eventually you're able to kind of work through. And for me, just writing different scenes, writing it. Remember how Annie Lamott said, just start writing, just do something kind of a thing? For me, that was kind of the best remedy for that, was just to write and try to get through it. Other questions? Okay, if you guys don't have questions, I'm gonna make you do stuff.
What's your favorite color?
What's my favorite color? It's green, but it even was green in second grade, I guess. But what does that have to do with writing? It doesn't, okay. Thank you. Yes?
What is your favorite type of book to read?
Ooh, my favorite type of book to read is probably, not necessarily paranormal romance, but I like supernatural horror, paranormal stuff like that. What's your favorite type? What's your favorite type?
I like sports books.
Sports books?
While you're writing your first books, were good people support you throughout the book?
Ooh, while I was writing my first book, did people support me? Yes, they did, but I had kind of a hard time. It's not gonna probably make sense to you guys because you're young, but I have 2 kids and a regular job too. And so I felt a lot of guilt taking time away from my kids to do the writing, if that makes sense, until I kind of realized I'm doing what I need to be doing for me, and my kids seeing that is a good thing. But other than that, I think everybody was really excited for me and supportive.
Do you like anything about going to school here?
Did I like anything about going to school here? Yeah, I did. And for you guys, I don't know, you guys, you don't have to say whether you like it or not, but for me it was tough because I felt like we were out in the middle of nowhere. But now looking back, you guys have what, because I work at a private school where the kids pay to go to school there, and at that school, it's small class sizes, it's teachers who really know the kids. That's what you guys already have here. You guys have these great class sizes with teachers who have known you for years and who can support you. And so that's what I really liked, was the connections with people here and knowing people for a long time. And still keeping in touch with people from back then. And coming in here, it was a really cool feeling because it's been 20 years since I've been here, and it feels almost exactly the same. So I hope that you have that feeling at some point if you get to come back. Or you were waiting. Okay. Other questions?
Okay, so after you published the book and everything, did you read it, or did you just
I have not read it fully since it's been published. And I think a lot of authors do that. Like, you spend so much time with a book before it gets published that by the time it's out, you're kind of like, okay, I'm on to the next thing. And you know, it's not that I wouldn't read it again. It's just that I'm trying to keep my brain in the book that I'm in. And a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to do a sequel to this one, and I've sort of started a sequel, and I don't know if I'll ever really finish it, but if I do that, I'll definitely go back and reread, because I need to keep consistent and make sure I have my facts right. Okay, other questions?
What inspired you?
What inspired me with this idea for this book? Well, because I like paranormal books, and something that I didn't really say to you guys is, but just kind of write what you know. So because I like paranormal books, that is where I'm drawn to write anyway. And then a lot of advice you get when you go to writers' conferences and things like that is write something that isn't out there already. And so there are like 5 million vampire books, and and everything is a few years out anyway. But at that time when I started writing Devil May Care, there weren't any angel demon kind of books. So I thought, what if I did that? Because that's, to me, an interesting juxtaposition. So that's kind of why I chose that topic. Other, yes?
How did you come up with the title?
Oh, good. Okay, I was afraid it was going to be my favorite number or something, which is 2. But the way I came up with the title is, first I had called it Middle Ground, and I'm not going to try to dig it out, but yeah, because for me it's kind of important to have a title as I'm writing rather than wait it to the end. So in the very beginning I had called it Middle Ground, which kind of alluded to kind of an angel and demon meeting in the middle on Earth. And anyway, but then I thought there's the saying, which is Devil May Care, which is kind of if you're Devil May Care about something, you're just kind of reckless, and and so I liked that saying, and it really kind of fits with the main character Anna's attitude, and then it ties in with the whole demon thing. So that's how I came up with that. Okay, other questions? All right, do you guys want to write a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yes. Yes.
Really? You thought you were going to get out of writing class today, huh? What's my favorite book? Okay, guys, he had a question. He wondered what my favorite book is. That's a really hard question for me. Well, as an author, I love Isabel Allende, and she's an author from Chile who she originally writes in Spanish, and I'm not fluent enough to read, but I read the English translations. But I love a lot of Stephen King stuff. It's so hard. I can't really give you a really great answer, and I read a lot of young adult stuff because I'm a young adult librarian, but there are a lot of great young adult authors out there, but I don't have just one or one series. What's your favorite author?
I'm gonna have to say Susan Collins, and she's a little bit of R.L. Stine, and
I like both of them. No, I like Suzanne Collins, especially on it.
Well, narrow that question down. What's your favorite Stephen King book?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I just read the 11/22/63 one that he wrote. Have you read that one? I really liked that one. Carrie was the first Stephen King book I ever read from this library when I was younger, and I really liked Carrie too. But a lot of his Carrie and Cujo and some of those that I really liked are very different than some of what he's doing now. But I would encourage you to, do you read Stephen King?
Yeah.
Okay, you should read his newest one for sure, because I really, really liked it. It's a time travel kind of one.
Is there a certain author that inspires you to write?
A certain author that inspired me to write. No, but kind of getting back to like me deciding as an adult to write. I've had a few authors who visit my school, and they've kind of inspired me to write. One, her name is Denise Vega, and she's a Colorado author, and she had talked with the group of us about what are your dreams, what do you want to do, and I'm like, I want to write. It was that kind of someday I'll write thing, and I'm like, I want to write, and she's like, why aren't you? So she really inspired me on that level. And then Avi works with, he's an author, a Colorado author who works with the students at our school a lot. And I do some work with him, and he's very inspirational to me as well because he has some learning differences that he works through as a writer. So both of them.